Hello everyone, today we'll be going over the strategy called MAPLESS Buried Treasure. So, as an overview of what buried treasure is, you get buried treasure maps from shipwrecks, and then this map will lead you to a chest with tons of loot like food, iron, diamonds, gold, all that good stuff. It's very useful for speedrunning because there's the strategy called MAPLESS Buried Treasure, where if you're lucky, then there will be a buried treasure within your render distance, and then you scan for it, and then you can find it. So the first thing you need to know about buried treasure is that once you know the chunk that it is, chunks are just 16 by 16, like chunks, I guess, 16 by 16 chunks, and then you can open chunk borders by going into F3 plus G, and then you also want to head to your pie chart. To do that, you open F3 and then press F3 and 1. This will open up this pie chart. You want to go to game renderer, level, frame graph main, and this will bring you to the pie chart with your block entities. So how this pie chart works is that if a chest entity, a mob spawner entity, or bed entity is in your field of view, then it will spike up. Another thing to note when you're scanning for buried treasure is that never to look at a block. If you're looking at a block, this block entity will spike up even though there's nothing there. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's just reset for a buried treasure. So sometimes you also might get a spike just because of a mob spawner. You will be able to tell because it usually takes up like half of the pie chart. Buried treasures usually take up like a third or a fourth because dungeons have a mob spawner and 2 chests in them, and that makes it like a much bigger spike basically. Another thing to note is that Minecraft loads in chunks or 16 by 16, so you only need to look for when the chunk loads in on your field of view rather than where exactly the buried treasure loads in on your field of view. Okay, so I do get a spike. It's really large though, so I highly doubt it's a shipwreck spike. Yeah, it's most likely a mob spawner spike from what I'm seeing. Most likely within this chunk here, yes. Alright, so I get a buried treasure spike, and now I scan. It spikes up right here, so it's at the edge of my screen there, and then we scan again. In this direction it spikes here, so it's in this diagonal direction here. To see if you're in the right chunk, we go into reverse F3. And so if it stays on your screen, then most likely in the chunk, right? Very nice buried treasure. Sometimes it'll still stay on your screen, right? You still get a spike here, and to make sure that like you're in the chunk, you would just go from all sides, and if it's not on all sides, then you know you're not in the chunk. Just go to FOV 30 if you're really confused about where it is. But yeah, other than that, that will be the tutorial.